good, people? Welcome to another edition of Politrick here on the Got What You Need Network. Of course, I am your host, Sky. There is so much going on, but I only have a short period of time each episode, so I try to pick those that are more pertinent to those who follow the show. Today we're going to talk about the Trump tariff fight. We'll discuss these illegal, although they're not being deemed that way, these illegal deportations. And then David Hogg, I believe it was the Parkland shooting down in Florida. Obviously he wasn't a victim, but he was in the school at the time. Now he's a Democratic operative, and he's making promises to push primaries in safe blue districts, saying that there are a lot of Democrats that are just comfortable, that aren't doing enough for the current fight that we're in. And of course, you know, some of the old guard, James McCarville was one of the first to speak out against the initiative. But since then, even the people from the DNC, even the DNC chairman, said that he didn't like it. But we'll get back to that. Let's start with these tariffs. Okay, so Trump whole thing, well, one of his big claims, I won't say whole thing, but one of his big claims was that he'd be able to secure these trade deals that will bring manufacturing jobs back to the United States. He started in Canada. That didn't go very well, even, you know, no matter what his supporters say. Canada stood up, and Canada basically exposed the U.S., the United States vulnerabilities in regards to not having an amicable relationship with them in regards to the energy that we count on from Canada. Tried it in Mexico, and the president, Claudia Sheinbaum, I believe it is, has stood tall against them. And she even admits that, like, you know, obviously, you know, Mexico counts on the United States for a variety of things, but the United States counts on Mexico too. And you're not going to push us around, and you want more people at the border, well, then you do a better job of stopping guns from coming into, you know, my country. You do a better job of stopping the flow of illegal drugs into my country, because it's a two-way street. And, you know, salute to her. But let's get to China. Because he went big time. He went up all the way up to, I believe it was 145% tariffs, which caused China to then respond, and then he scaled those back. But even outside of the politics, a lot of the factory owners and designers, so to speak, in China felt offended by what was going on, and decided to let out a lot of secrets and basically expose the dark side, if you will, of the designer goods market, and basically said that almost all of your upscale designer brands are manufactured in China, and mostly are sent to Europe for repackaging, or maybe adding one or two items to it, or what have you. But most of the time, the entire item is made in China. So all your designer bags, your Gucci, your Fendi, your Birkin, they're saying they all are designed in China, then shipped to Europe for repackaging, some enhancements or whatever, where then they can add the extra price tag. And what many of these manufacturers are starting to do is say, hey, we'll deal directly with you. Contact me direct, and we could come up with a deal, whether you want a mock of something that's already out, or you want to work on your own stuff. Like, just let me know. And it's basically gonna challenge the copyrights and almost, if you will, made bootlegging like illegal. I mean, made something that was illegal legal. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know how far people can get with that, being that you'll still have to get things through customs and things of that nature, man. But there are a lot of businesses in China that want to do business in America directly with consumers and American businesses, and are basically saying that we'll drop the price so low that the American tariffs won't even matter. So this is turning out to be, in my opinion, a very embarrassing chapter for the president, because he started a fight, and then when the people he started to fight with responded, he was the one who changed course and said, all right, well, we're not going to charge them that much, but we're in negotiations. And then that's another thing that should be embarrassing to not just the president, but the administration, is that every time he says something about being in negotiations with China, China say, we're not in negotiations and we haven't spoken now. So it's okay to be, a fan of someone. It's okay to say you support someone's policies, but why is it okay when someone continually lies? The only thing he did with this China trade war was expose how much America is in bed with China, and that a trade war with China wouldn't be very smart. And if someone listening is saying, well, you can't really say that, it just started or whatever, yes, I can, because why did all the CEOs and chairmen from, all the big box stores come to the White House to tell him to stop because that the prices of toys was going to go up? Basically came and said, hey man, I know you got, beef with Xi and all that type of stuff, but you can't do this way because it's hurting us. And it just seems like and I haven't even brought in to this fact that the stock market is just tanking. Now it's had some gains, but the gains are nowhere near the losses that this country and this world, really, the Dow, has experienced with the uncertainty of these tariff wars. And for those that are saying, all you got to do is just, wait for it to go down and buy, I mean, that's rich people talk. We're not speaking on those that were setting up to retire and lost almost all, they probably lose all, but a lot of their 401k that won't even allow them to do so. And sadly to say, probably won't live long enough to recoup what they lost. And that's what people aren't, bring it into perspective. Like a lot of people say that like some of these decisions were stock market manipulation, and a lot of people in his corner reacted to some of his different moves and made a lot of money off of it, and that's something that's being looked into as well. But like I said, man, this Trump tariff fight, I think he didn't expect some of the things to come out of the bottle that did, and just like they say, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. And we were in a discussion on social media, and I was like, there are going to be some people that are still going to pay the astronomical prices, and it's just a thing to them. It's a status thing to them. But there's a good majority of people that are going to now look for other options because they're basically being told that what you get on Canal Street is no different than what you get on Fifth Avenue. So I don't know if that's true, but that's what the people that are actually making the stuff, designing the stuff, stitching the stuff are saying. So, we'll keep you posted in regards to any other results. And the last thing I want to say is a lot of people, I think, are overestimating the power of this country. And I'm not saying America isn't powerful, and I'm not saying that it would be hard for another country to just, not to have no dealings with us unless they already don't have any dealings with us. But the fact that he's starting trouble with so many different countries, that what if, like, a coalition got together, like, this trade war is affecting soybean farmers here in this country. And they've been complaining as well. But China is like, okay, so now we're going to look to Brazil and Canada and other places to see where we can fill those voids. And with Canada, who's already in this nonsense with us, they wouldn't want anything better than to take over, $1 billion industry and now be able to produce those soybeans to China. And once again, these are countries that probably wouldn't have even been speaking to China in the past, but see that the way this president has pretty much made our country the bad guy, so to speak, or whatever. It's like, well, I mean, look at what the United States is doing, so China can't be all that bad. So, like I said, I'll follow up on this story on a future episode. Let's get to these deportations, man. So I know we heard a lot about the gentleman from Maryland that was deported and then taken to that prison, and then he was moved to, I guess, more of a detention center, but there still aren't any concrete plans for him to be brought back. But even in the worst case, right, a Trump appointee, well, I want to set this up that there's going to be a showdown between the Trump administration and basically the executive branch and the judicial branch based on these deportations and defiance. But now he's even upsetting his own appointees. Now, this is a Trump appointee, U.S. District Judge Terry Dougherty, and this is what he said. It's illegal and unconstitutional to deport, detain for deportation, or recommend deportation of an American citizen. He reminded the Trump administration in a recent ruling. The Department of Homeland Security contended in a court hearing that the removal of the American child is proper, even though her father had sought an emergency petition on Thursday to stop the girl from being sent abroad. The quote was, the parents made the decision to take the child with them to Honduras. It's common that parents want to be removed with their children. And this is what Tricia McLaughlin, the DHS Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs, and she made this statement to NPR. According to court documents, the 2-year-old New Orleans native was brought by her mother, Jenny Carolina Lopez Viela, to a routine immigration appointment in New Orleans on Tuesday when they were arrested along with their older sister. The suit alleges the ICE agents repeatedly refused to give the child's father her location and denied him the opportunity to speak for more than a minute to the mother. The families were completely isolated during critical moments when decisions were being made about the welfare of their minor children. The ACLU argued in a statement. The government contends that this is all okay because the mother wished that the child be deported with her, but the court doesn't know that. The judge wrote that a lawyer for the Justice Department told him that Lopez Viela had just been released in Honduras. And this story was covered on Salon for reference. So once again, man, you can be this America first, America, our country's being overran and all that kind of stuff. But once again, now it's an American citizen. So, like, where does it stop? Like, once again, this isn't someone who... And if someone is reporting to an appointment, wouldn't that indicate that they are, like, following the law and are trying to wait for the actual decisions to be made and are not trying to, fly under the radar? Like I said, by them actually reporting to the actual immigration meeting, I would think that that'd be an indicator that they intend to follow the law, man. And I don't know, man. We have to wake up as a country, no matter what our differences are, and call out what this president is doing. Him and his administration, and it's only like a few of them, are just running rogue all over the Constitution. And this goes to people that feel like there have been migrants in their town and crime has went up and it's been less safe, and it shouldn't be. But this isn't what we want in response to that. So I'm just telling you, more people need to be contacting their congressmen and their senators and tell them to make more noise about this because, like I said, this is not right. All right, David Hogg, he put out a statement that he was going to be raising and spending millions to primary incumbents and safe seats that he deemed ineffective. As soon as he put that out, he immediately got pushback. During a call with members, Democratic National Committee Chairman Kim Martin called for DNC officials' neutrality to be codified in the party's rules and bylaws. It says no DNC officer should ever attempt to influence the outcome of a primary election, whether on behalf of the incumbent or the challenger. He told people on the call. What they're trying to do is move to try to make what he wants to do illegal, but it's not illegal yet. So let's just start there. So in a response, in a statement to CNN, Hogg defended his primary push, arguing, and I agree, that Democrats can't be the strongest opposition party possible unless it changes the status quo. The vice chair, the vice chair Hogg said to the DNC, attempting to change the rules because he's not currently breaking them. The role of the DNC is to set the presidential primary calendar, set the presidential debate schedule to help strengthen our state parties, play a key role in building our data infrastructure for the party, and to be the campaign and waiting for whoever the next Democratic nominee is. Nothing I'm doing is in odds with any of that, is what Hogg responds to. And this is what happens when people get too comfortable, and now you have the old guard trying to protect themselves from the new guard. I actually agree with Mr. Hogg on this. I feel like I understand that the Democrats aren't the party in power, but we watched when the Republicans wasn't in power, the things they did to just get in the way and slow things down and obstruct, and to not see any of like those similar actions being taken by the Democrats that are now in this position, are just putting their hands up. What do you want us to do? You know, we don't set the agenda. We don't do this. We don't do that. And that excuse is starting to fall on deaf ears with a lot of younger voters. And I think that James McCarville and Ken Martin and Jamie, I forgot his name, from South Carolina, and Stacey Abrams and all of them need to get with David Hogg and come to a compromise, because what he's saying is right. And if you're trying to protect some people that, you feel like is going to get caught up in this wave, then make sure that those people become effective legislators and not just comfortable congressional representatives. So once again, kudos to David Hogg for lighting a fire within the Democrats. And I hope that this attempt to change the rules at the 11th hour backfires on them. It's not fair. Just like he said, he's not breaking any rules. He's not breaking any bylaws or anything of that nature. And just because you don't like what he's doing, to then turn around, and you have the right to not like what he's doing, but what you don't have the right to do is to try to change the rules because you don't like what he's doing. So hopefully that doesn't happen, and we can see some competitive primary races coming up for 2026 and 2028. So we'll see. I wasn't going to cover this story, but I am now. It's getting so bad with this administration that a Wisconsin judge was arrested and charged in federal court for allegedly obstructing immigration agents. A Milwaukee County Circuit Judge was arrested by the FBI and charged in federal court for allegedly helping an undocumented immigrant avoid arrest. Judge Hannah Dugan is facing 2 charges of obstruction and concealing the individual from arrest. She made her initial court appearance and was released. The arrest on federal charges is an escalation in the Trump administration focus on judges' conduct, particularly as it relates to immigration enforcement. The Justice Department has repeatedly asserted that it will investigate any local officials who do not assist federal authorities in immigration matters. They say, we believe that Judge Dugan intentionally misdirected agents away from the subject to be arrested in a courthouse. Eduardo Flores Ruiz, allowing the subject, a legal alien, to evade arrest. And this is what FBI Director Idiot Kash Patel said on Twitter recently. The agents were able to chase the guy down and arrest him anyway. The only statement that was made from the Dugan camp was Judge Dugan camp. Her attorney said that she wholeheartedly regrets and protests her arrest. It was not made in the interest of public safety. And her charging documents, the agents went to the courtroom with the intention of arresting her. My bad. The agents went to her courtroom with the intention of arresting this Mexican immigrant, and he had been removed from the country in 2013, and then had returned illegally. So this wasn't a case, I guess they're saying, of someone that we could question whether they had the right to stay or not. This was somebody that had already been told that they had to leave and decided to come back. There aren't any details within the story that say to whether or how she misdirected the agents or what have you. And my thing is, it's pretty much to a point to where if you don't turn someone over or turn someone in the federal government eyes, well, in the administration eyes, I won't say the federal government, I'll say in this administration eyes, then you're aiding and abetting. And that's what this boils down to. Once again, man, we're just in a very dangerous time and an interesting time for our country because, like I started at the beginning of the recording, this China thing could open up entrepreneurship for a lot of people who wouldn't have had the opportunity to do that. And it doesn't just have to be mocking current and existing brands. It could be building your own and having a direct link to the actual manufacturer, where you're not even going to the wholesaler anymore, and you could be saving a whole lot of money. In regards to Homeland Security and DHS, going rogue, more people need to speak out in regards to that. You could be the staunchest immigration advocate, but you can't be okay with what's going on. And the amount of U.S. citizens in which it's illegal to deport are being deported. And then once they're gone, the administration is like, oops, well, I don't know how we're going to get them back. We can't allow that to go on. Once again, kudos to David Hogg. Like I said, I appreciate your bravery, your courage to stand up to the machine, and I hope more people get behind him and his push to make more of these races competitive and get these comfortable, non-effective leaders out of leadership. With Judge Dugan, like I said, I don't know enough of the facts, but I know they shouldn't have arrested the judge for something minor. Usually, in a case like this, she's issued a summons, but they wanted to embarrass her or try to embarrass her or whatever. So we got to stop that as well, because that was just the start to see what would be the reaction if we started arresting judges. Because now it'll move to any judge that makes a decision they don't like. Then they're gonna try to twist some way to how they broke federal law or whatever. Like he had a debate with a back and forth with someone, and the woman was like, "Well, that's not the law," and he responded, "I am the law." And this president really thinks he is. And that's very, very dangerous. We have three branches of government for a reason, and it's for checks and balances. And we need to push to make sure these checks and balances stay in place. All right, that's my time. Don't forget to check out the other great podcasts on this great network, Life and Love, and they're gonna re-release that, rebroadcast that, man, repackage that, I guess we say. So I guess it's the brand new Life and Love. So be on the lookout for that. The Black Male Podcast, the Encouraged and Inspired Podcast, Talking with E. And this is Politrick, and I'm your boy Scott, and we'll talk again real soon.